Before I jump into the video, like and subscribe for more content like this. What's up, fellas? Alright, so let's talk about where War Thunder is heading, because after the recent updates, it's pretty clear the game is changing. And not just in the air. A lot of people focus on jets and missiles, but ground battles are going through just as big of a shift. And honestly, the two are starting to connect more than ever. Let's start with ground, because modern ground RB feels very different than it did even a few years ago. Recent updates have pushed ground battles way deeper into the modern era. Thermals are everywhere now, laser rangefinders are standard, and tanks die way faster than they used to. Matches at top tier are less about armor and more about who sees who first, who positions better, and who understands the map. If you mess up once, you're usually back to the hangar. And that's kind of the problem. A lot of maps just weren't built for this level of tech. Modern tanks can spot across the map almost instantly, and some maps still feel like they were designed for early Cold War vehicles. You spawn in, move a little too far, and suddenly you're getting hit from a sight line that didn't even exist years ago. So, going forward, War Thunder really needs ground maps that actually fit modern gameplay. Bigger areas, more terrain variation, and less obvious spawn camping. Another big thing ground players have noticed is how combined arms is becoming more important. CAS has always been part of War Thunder, but lately it feels more powerful and more integrated than ever. Smart munitions, targeting pods, helicopters with long-range missiles. Ground battles aren't just tank versus tank anymore. If your team doesn't control the air, ground matches can spiral fast. That's where the future gets interesting. If War Thunder keeps moving forward, ground battles won't just be about tanks. They'll be about how well your team works with aircraft. And that opens the door for things people have been asking for forever, like better anti-air gameplay, more meaningful SPAA roles, and less of that feeling where you just get bombed with no counterplay. Now, shifting over to air battles, because this is where things really start to feel like Gaijin is setting up something bigger. Recent air updates haven't just added new jets, they've added systems, radar changes, missile reworks, and more realistic behavior across the board. And yeah, it can be messy sometimes, but it's clear they're laying the groundwork for more advanced air combat. Which brings us to different air battle modes, because current air RB is kinda outdated for modern jets. Right now, most air battles still boil down to one big chaotic fight in the middle of the map. That works fine for older jets, but it makes way less sense when you start talking about modern aircraft, and especially future stuff like 5th-gen fighters. This is where modes like SEAD missions could completely change the game. Imagine air battles where instead of just hunting players, part of your job is taking out enemy air defenses. You've got SAM sites, radar-guided AA, and players flying dedicated aircraft to suppress them. Suddenly, planes that aren't pure dogfighters actually have a real role. You're not just chasing kills, you're opening the map for your team. Then there's AWACS, which is something people joke about, but it actually makes sense. Instead of everyone having perfect awareness or relying on clunky radar mechanics, you could have AWACS-style aircraft or mechanics that provide shared information to your team. That could slow the pace of air battles in a good way, make positioning matter more, and reduce that feeling of randomness where you just get jumped out of nowhere. And once you start talking about AWACS, you kind of have to talk about sensor fusion. Sensor fusion is basically the idea that your aircraft isn't just using one sensor, it's combining radar, infrared, and other information into one clear picture. If War Thunder ever adds this properly, it would completely change how players understand air combat. Less staring at 5 different screens, more decision-making based on actual information. And this is where 5th Gen fighters really come into play. 5th Gen jets aren't about insane dogfights. They're about awareness, coordination, and controlling the fight before it even starts. That doesn't work in current Air RB without changes. You'd need new modes, new objectives, and probably larger maps where stealth and detection actually matter. Now here's the important part. Ground and air futures are tied together. If War Thunder adds more advanced air modes, ground battles benefit too. CAD missions make CAS less oppressive. AWACS-style mechanics make air cover more organized. Better air gameplay means fewer random deaths on the ground and more teamwork overall. That's why these recent updates feel different. They're not just adding vehicles. They're slowly pushing the game toward a more connected battlefield. Is it perfect right now? Not even close. Balance is still rough. Maps still need work. And top tier can be frustrating on both ground and air. But the direction is pretty clear. War Thunder isn't trying to stay simple anymore. It's aiming for something more complex, more modern, and honestly, more risky. Whether that ends up being amazing or a complete mess depends on how careful Gaijin is going forward. But one thing's for sure. The days of War Thunder being just tanks or just planes are long gone. The future is combined, modern, and way more complicated than what we started with. And yeah, we'll probably complain the whole time, but we'll still be playing. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and like the video for more.